welcome once again to another Chess.com podcast. Now we're looking at our very difficult puzzles, and this is another white to move and mate in 2. So if you want to pause the video and try and work out the mate in 2, please go ahead and do that. If you'd like to be spoon-fed the solution, here's the idea and here's the thinking behind it also. Well, if we look at this position, we have the white pieces all around the black king. In fact, the black king can't move and he can't escape. The only move he could make would be to take here on c2. If we did a nothing move and black did take here on c2, and quite simply the white queen coming down would force checkmate. But in these puzzles we can't rely on black spoon feeding and self-mating, so that isn't the solution. Now there are a couple of ways you can checkmate here. The one that springs to mind straight away is to get rid of the black knight, which is currently on b5. After playing, say, knight a3 check, knight is forced to take on a3, b takes a3. We're going to have a knight move to prolong this, and the queen can come to b3, king a1 and b2. Now that was a mate in 4, but there's some interesting ideas there. This idea of the queen coming into b3 to give check. If we go back to the original position, we know it's not going to be a knight move. We know it's not going to be a queen move here, and the bishop coming out, say to f4, doesn't really help us here either, because now the king can take on c2, and if the queen came down to d3, then the king can escape via b2, and it's not checkmate 2. So the move here, the idea of getting our queen to b3, which would be checkmate, is to play b4. Now what can black do? Now black can't do much. If black tries to take on c2, we've already seen, queen comes down to d3 with checkmate. If the knight tries to take on c2, then again we can just remove the bishop, and this time on the very elegant discovered checkmate. If one of our other knights moves, such as knight to b3, then the queen can take on b3, and even our knight coming to a3 allows checkmate with our knight taking on a3 himself. So there's lots of different variations and ways of completing this checkmate. If we go back, let's remember our idea here is to make room for the queen to come in to land a checkmate. But in doing that, to also bear in mind all the different variations. We know that there's a checkmate here if the black knight on b5 moves. We know there's a checkmate on d3 if the king takes on c2. So black doesn't have many options anyway. So in playing this seemingly quiet move b4, we force one of these bad options. I hope you've enjoyed this Chess.com podcast, and there'll be another one next week.